Well, I think the freshwater challenges facing the United States and really the planet are fairly significant because not only do we have real issues, historic issues that have constrained our water resources, both the quality and quantity of our water resources, but we're also looking at the impacts of climate change as having really fundamental and profound effects on those water resources that we've never actually experienced before. So we've got to look very carefully at how we manage our water and our water infrastructure in very new ways and very different ways than we have in the past.
Both the policies and the physical water infrastructure in the United States were developed in a time of both actual and to a certain degree, or perceived abundance and to a certain degree actual abundance. And I think the real challenge at this point is to adjust to the fact that we are now in an era of actual water scarcity and also real water quality challenges.
But there are a number of challenges that the U.S. faces in regards to its water resources. One of the primary stresses is population and economic growth and strains on over-allocated water resources. We also face kind of a decaying infrastructure and long-term underinvestment in our water systems. And then climate change also poses kind of another challenge, exacerbating some of these other stresses that are already existing. We're also facing environmental systems that are collapsing in part due to kind of over-extraction of water and also some of the chemicals and the other water quality impacts that are having on those systems.
If you look at the United States from freshwater availability standpoint for surface water and groundwater, in the United States we haven't built a lot of new reservoirs in the past 25 years. We've essentially hit the limit on our fresh surface water supply availability. And with climate change issues and climate variability, it looks like we'll probably have less fresh surface water to meet our growing water demands in the future. On the groundwater side, over the past 40 years, we've overpumped a number of our major aquifers across the country. And so we're looking at the availability of fresh groundwater resources being diminished because we're down at the limits of the availability of water in the aquifers. So as we're looking at huge demands in growth and huge demands in energy in the future and the need for water supplies to meet those, we're actually at a point where we're looking at diminished fresh surface and groundwater supplies to meet those demands. And so there's a crossroads occurring where we have less available freshwater supplies and increasing demands, and the issue is how do we meet those and how do we address those in the future?
Well, predominantly we've got an issue of lack of access to water, and that's decreasing with climate change issues happening now as well into the future. So there's a water security issue in the sense of quantity of water. That's fundamental. And I guess we see that most in the southern states at the moment, but it is across the country. And even in the more northern reaches where there is considered to be more water availability, the second component really is the lack of clarity of that water in the sense of pollutants that get into it. So we have a water pollution problem. In other words, from wastewater discharges from both municipal and industrial outputs, but also agricultural.
Great. Tell me. Perspective, I'm very concerned about quality and quantity, but I think the biggest issue is probably climate change and how it's going to affect freshwater systems in the United States and in the world for that matter. And I think if we don't deal with that, then all of the other issues such as deteriorating infrastructure and a distrust of community members and folks on the safety of their water.
It seems to me that we have a phenomenal opportunity to engage the public in a dialogue about an issue that is sure to become magnified even if the simplest level of climate change emerges. Our water supply is going to be threatened. It is being threatened already, and we've seen glimpses with Katrina. We've seen glimpses with Ike, and we have an opportunity to find solutions, reconstruct models, and deploy ideas, test ideas in ways that will serve future generations.
I think one of the key challenges is to get people to better understand the linkages between water and health, and how water is a finite, unrenewable resource that we need to have more respect for. And if we could better understand the role that society plays in the quality of water and the potential health risks and the way we use water in our lives, then we would make a first step towards improving the public health landscape in the U.S.
We already know that there isn't enough water in many rivers for fish and wildlife. We've got climate change causing changes in the way water falls as snow or rain, which paradoxically will create both increased flooding and increased droughts in different parts of the country, and in some places both not at the same time, but in the same place. So we're going to have to change the way we manage water, change the way we think about water, and even on a personal basis, change the way we use water.
From my perspective at the Water Environment Federation, much of what we do revolves around infrastructure, and that's the infrastructure to extract and treat and supply water, and then also to collect the wastewater from homes and industries and treat that and discharge it back into receiving water. That infrastructure in this country has been, in many places, has been in place for 30, 40, 50 years, sometimes even longer, up to 90 or 100 years. It's a buried asset. People don't see it, and the only time people really think about it, frankly, is when there's some type of disaster. A pipe breaks, a sinkhole opens up, and the aging infrastructure really is kind of a ticking time bomb that we do need to pay attention to.